39/M, my friend, 35/M, who's gay, is going to a meet and greet for gay men to meet and he wants me to come with him. But I don't feel comfortable doing it. My best friend in the world is gay. He's also very socially awkward. He's got anxiety with these types of situations. So he struggles with actually approaching people. He really worries how they won't like him and how he's wasting his time. I thought I'd do something nice for him. I looked on Facebook and there's kind of a social gathering for single gay men to meet each other, get to know one another. I told him about the event and he thanked me. He was really excited for it. He's been talking about it for weeks. But the actual event is now only a day away and he's way anxious about it. I tried giving him a pep talk, to convince him. He said he'd feel way better if I went with him. I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I don't feel comfortable going, like I feel I'll stick out like a sore thumb there, because of the way I talk and dress. I'm straight but I'm also kind of a hick. I'm a big guy with a thick drawl that drives a truck and wears denim overalls everywhere, and this place is in a more high-class area, not to mention the redneck stereotype of them being giant homophobes. I'm not though. I'm also not really comfortable with the fact that I may get hit on by some of the guys there. Should I tell him no or just kinda suck it up and deal with it? Too long didn't read. My gay friend is awkward socially and wants me to come with him to a social event for gay men to meet up, and I just don't feel comfortable doing it. Should I or not? Get a shirt or hat that says emotional support straight. The last thing anyone is going to think about the dude who accompanied his gay friend to a mixer for morale support is that he's a homophobe regardless of how he presents himself superficially. If you're not a single gay man, you shouldn't go. It would be a misrepresentation, and rather unfair to the other men there who are, like your friend, looking for a place to meet other single, gay men. You'd basically be crashing a party you weren't invited to. Wouldn't deliberately go to ladies only night, a bowling alley or firing range, right? Probably not. It's just not polite. You should try to shake off the fear of being approached by men, and learn to just politely decline. Same as with anyone. However, in this case, you still really shouldn't go. Tell your friend no, sorry. That doesn't seem like a good idea for anyone. That's a frustrating situation for sure, especially since it seems like it's out of both of your elements. I'm also horrible in social situations and always benefit from a hype man that can help me out. But if you can muster up the fortitude, I'd go with him. It's easy enough to say, oh, my friend is a little shy and I just came to support him. Have you met, friend name / he's, nice thing about friend / then your friend owes you like moving that really awkward couch or whatever. If the issue is that you want to help him, could you accompany him on the way to the event without actually going in? Like walk or drive or take the bus there together? You're well within your rights to say no and instead point him towards resources for managing anxiety. Yeah, walk him to the door and hang out and get a coffee nearby or something. Tell him to text if he needs. I live in a van with my F22 boyfriend, M23, who I just found out has been cheating on me for 7 months with the same woman who didn't even know I was his girlfriend. Too long didn't read. My boyfriend cheated on me for 7 months with the same girl. I finally found out and turns out she had no idea I was his girlfriend. Hey everyone, I don't know what to do. I'm absolutely trapped and stuck and sad. This will be a long one but it is quite the story. Backstory: I started dating my boyfriend of March this year. I had known him for about a year prior because we lived in the same complex. I always had a crush on him. One day, we ran into each other at a bar and walked home together and things started to go from there. However, there were some serious red flags from day one that I have chosen to ignore. We live in a ski town, smaller population, so it is not uncommon to run into each other downtown. Within the first 2 weeks of us seeing each other, I was sitting at a bus stop around 9 p.m. and I saw him run past me with another girl. We'll call her Rebecca, who is also his co-worker, and they hop on the bus. So I texted him saying, "What are you up to tonight?" It was iMessage and it sent as a text, so I know his phone was off. Didn't reply until noon the next day. He was wearing a hoodie of a fairly unknown band, and I wouldn't be surprised if no one else in the town had that hoodie. So the next day I went into his work. This might sound like I'm clingy, but our jobs are literally a 2-minute walk from each other, and people visit him at his work all the time, and told him I had seen someone with the same hoodie as him at the bus stop. He absolutely froze and had nothing to say. We then had some small talk and then I left. Then, he chased after me and said, "I'm so sorry, I slept with Rebecca last night and it will never happen again." Okay, first red flag. But I just said, "Okay, I trust you." WTF is wrong with me? As the days/months went by, I had some serious suspicions that he never stopped sleeping with her. There were multiple times where he would say he couldn't hang because he was jamming with his buddies, but then would turn his phone off and I wouldn't hear from him until the next day. It was often days that he worked with Rebecca. There were a few times I went to visit him at his work when she was there, and he wouldn't kiss or hug me and just act weird. She would give me the absolute death stare like I was stealing her boyfriend. I always told myself that I was just being insecure and it was nothing. He told me that too. He would say that all he ever wanted was for me to trust him and to just drop the subject. I eventually was just anxious about this for days and days because I truly felt I was just making it up. Some more red flags. One point, he casually just pulled out some YouTube videos about being polyamorous, which for the record I think is fine if it's consensual. But he brought it up and said he'd want to try it sometime. I said I couldn't do it and he tried to justify why it was the healthy way to have a relationship. I'm not sure what his plan was with giving me that information. It was so blatantly fucking obvious he was cheating on me. One time, I looked through his phone and she was calling him babe and them making plans to hang out. I was scared to bring it up though. He is extremely mentally unwell and has gotten verbally aggressive of me on plenty of occasions. So again, I ignored it because I was scared about how he'd react about me looking through his things. Months go by, eventually Rebecca quits her job with him and he told me it was for personal reasons. I was relieved and thought, finally he will stop cheating on me, or at least cheat on me less. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anyways, I'm sure they kept seeing each other. However, still no hard proof. A month later, she moves away. So in end of August, finally, she's gone. It's weird. After that point, his attitude changed. He suddenly was so much more transparent, affectionate and caring. I began to forget about the last 7 months prior. He convinces me to move into a van with him to save some money. Where we live, living in a van is quite common. It's an expensive ski town, it's just the norm here. However, 7 months into an emotionally abusive relationship is not a good time to do that. But anyways, things did start to improve aside from his deeply embedded depression. He had panic attacks and physically beat himself up in front of me. These are things he actually did right from the start. Just now, it was just that and no cheating. Then, about a week ago, I find out Rebecca moved back. My heart absolutely sank. All the horrible memories came back and I was back to being sad and anxious 100% of the time. One day, I went to his work and they were in there hanging out together. I got choked up and left right away. Came back a little while later, and the door was locked and the lights were off. He manages a small retail business. I knew something was up and just broke down crying. He comes to the door and unlocks and lets me in. This is where shit gets crazy. 2 of them were just sitting there. I guess at this point she now knows we're dating because it was pretty hard to hide as we lived together. She says, "I promise you that we are just friends," and my boyfriend says, "Please trust me." So I just went all out and started asking Rebecca questions about mine and her timeline with my boyfriend. When she started to figure out that their entire relationship was built on lies, she started crying and was absolutely shook. She was as under the impression me and him just started dating. My boyfriend sat there in fetal position, crying and trying to blame us for taking away his freedom, saying it's not his fault, we both wanted to date him. WTF. She and I both ended up leaving. Not sure where she went, but I stayed at a co-worker's. The next day, me and Rebecca met up and talked for a long time. As it turns out, my gut feeling with everything was, obviously, True. Other things, she quit her job because dating a coworker was making things complicated. She truly thought I was just someone trying to steal her boyfriend. She moved away because he was playing so many mind games with her and was making her feel crazy. He told her on countless occasions that I wasn't the one for him and that he didn't have feelings towards me. Turns out, Rebecca is actually a really nice girl. It was clear I was his primary girlfriend as all his friends and family knew about me, but he always kept her separate from his social life. That being said, her and I were absolutely played. Now a few days have passed, and I'm back to sleeping in the tiny box van with my boyfriend. He has apologized countless times and I've forgiven him, but I think it's because I feel so stuck. There is nowhere for me to go. Trust me when I say in this town, housing is basically non-existent. What exists is so unbelievably out of my price range. Like over $2,000 for a room with a bunk bed. We also bought this van together, so much of my money was put towards it. On top of all of this, I'm at the point where I feel attached. I just don't know what to do. I have pretty much no friends here. I truly never ever thought I would be in this position. I come from a good family with good morals and parents that love each other. Why did I turn out like this? Why do I want this guy to just love me and treat me well? Why have I put up with this shit? Why am I too scared to leave? You still call that guy your boyfriend? Please call your parents and ask for their help in getting you away from this situation. Being involved with this individual has destroyed your self-esteem and narrowed your perceptions, made you feel so stuck, that you can't see that there are options that are available to you. Trust me when I say in this town, housing is basically non-existent. So move back in with your good family with parents who love each other. You got into this position because coming from a good family is exactly what made you trust someone bad and see the good in them. You've been naive precisely because you've never been played like this. Now you know. Don't get stuck in that cycle where you're ashamed of yourself and therefore keep staying in the very relationship that is destroying you. You have loving parents, call them. Explain the situation. Lean on their support and get the fuck out. Don't let your pride keep you. Abuse, gaslighting and assholes get to all of us. There's no shame in it. Just learn from it and take care of yourself. Agree. You've been collecting enough red flags from this loser to supply a parade in China. He very clearly doesn't respect or love you. The longer you stay, the harder your self-esteem will be hit. As you grow older, you will hate that you gave him so many chances when he only deserved to be dumped. Sell the van and split the money the way you bought the van, or make him buy you out of the van. If he threatens you, have proof of it and go to the police. Get out of there. He has apologized countless times and I've forgiven him, but I think it's because I feel so stuck. You're right about why. You didn't forgive him because you want to or because you're okay with it. You forgave him because you feel like you have no choice. My heart goes out to you. This is a really difficult predicament, but this current situation is beyond messed up. You're trapped in a space as small as a van with a psycho. I'm sure he is mentally unwell, but being mentally unwell and being an utter piece of shit psycho isn't mutually exclusive. He is most definitely both, and you need to not stay in this situation with this giant turd who is capable of doing all of this. My boyfriend sat there in fetal position, crying and trying to blame us for taking away his freedom, saying it's not his fault, we both wanted to date him. Is there anything more pathetic and messed up? After all this, he's mentally broken and his default is still to refuse any accountability. He's literally in the fetal position. There are no more layers to peel on this onion. That is him. And in that state, he is still desperate to blame someone other than himself for his disgusting manipulative behavior. Yes, he is mentally unwell. Yes, he is also a fucking psycho that you need to get away from. Is it at all possible for you to seek a roommate somewhere in town? Do you have family you can move in with back home? Whatever it is, I would say it's worth it. I would insist on selling the van so you can get paid out and have an opportunity to distance yourself from this situation. I, 29M, have started exercising and my wife, 28F, has been unsupportive. Wife and I have been together 11 years. We've always been homebodies, sedentary types. Never played sports or in shape or anything like that. Well, around March or April I switched from a long commute to WFH, and so I thought I'd try getting into exercise with my extra time. During this time my wife was working from home too, and I asked if she wanted to join me. She said no way, which was disappointing but not a big deal. I could do this alone. For those couple months that we were working from home together, she was always snide whenever I talked about exercise or got ready to do so. Made little statements like calling me Rocky or asking if I was going to try out for the NFL. Eventually she went back to the office and I have still been WFH. So now I exercise when she's not at home, and during the weekend, I do so when she's asleep. I don't bring it up anymore either. She knows I'm still doing it. I've gotten fitter, but she hasn't once commented on it or even noticed. I'm wondering if I should talk about this with her or just let sleeping dogs lie. She never tried to stop me, but maybe she just doesn't want the reminder. Looking for perspective. Too long didn't read. Wife was snide when I started exercising. Now I hide this from her. Wonder if it's worth talking to her about.